So I added 4 upgrades to my Onewheel GT. I added the Foamies grips, the TFL Lifesavers, the TFL Enduro tire, and the Craft and Ride magnetic fender. But was it worth it? Well, the easiest to install was the Craft and Ride magnetic fender that only took a few minutes to install, with essentially the removal of 4 screws and adding 4 magnets and 4 longer screws. The hardest was the Enduro tire, which required partial disassembly of the GT to remove the wheel, removal of the stock tire, mounting of the new tire, and reassembly of the wheel and the frame. The TFL GT Enduro tire and Lifesavers installation video was easy to understand, and in the end, after drafting my wife to give me a hand and taking an overnight break after removing the old tire and before installing the new one, it was done and the Lifesavers were installed as well. I didn't really install the Foamies grips at all because I managed to find some Foamies pre-installed on some new stock GT foot pads that I bought. So all I needed to do was to swap out my original foot pads for the new foot pads, which was relatively easy to do and gives me the nice option of going back to the stock grip tape by simply swapping out the foot pads again. Of the 4 upgrades, only 2 actually affect the GT's performance, that is the Foamies and the Enduro tire. For me, the Foamies were well worth the effort. They feel much softer underfoot while riding and significantly reduce the feeling of the sharp edges of the stock concave foot pads. Grip is as good, if not better, than the stock grip tape in dry pavement conditions and seem to allow easier foot adjustment while riding. On dusty trails, the dust can collect on the Foamies, which compromises the grip to some degree, but not significantly. If there's too much dust, I could just dust it off with my hand or glove. Though I did not ride in much wet conditions here in Southern California, I imagine wet conditions might make the Foamies a bit more slippery. The Lifesavers, which are the black rings that slip with some effort over the edges of the rims of the wheel on each side, were also worth the effort, since they did not take that much more effort since I installed them at the same time as I changed the tire. I doubt if I would go through the trouble of installing them without doing a tire change at the same time. But they are made of thick rubbery material and appear to provide significant protection for the metal rim from rocks and other debris. I was concerned that the Lifesavers might rub on the Mag Handle Pro that comes pre-installed on the GT, but this has not been a problem at all. The Enduro tire provides the greatest benefit in performance, so though there is a lot of effort required to install them, it is still worthwhile. The Enduro tire is made from a noticeably softer rubber, which makes the tire ride significantly smoother and quieter than my stock treaded tire on pavement. The center tread of the Enduro also seems to have a slightly flatter profile than the very rounded profile of the stock tire, which makes it feel a little more stable. On trails, the softer Enduro tire seems to soak up the rocks a bit more, smoothing out the ride, but traction, especially on steeper climbs and dry conditions, seems to suffer just a little bit as compared to the stock treaded tire. Clearance between the tire and the front and rear foot pads seems tighter with the Enduro than the stock tire, but I have not experienced any rubbing of the tire while riding. The softer rubber seems to kick up more fine particles from the road or trail than the stock tire did, which collects on the rear foot pad. This can affect the rear foot pad grip if you don't wipe it away periodically or use a fender. Because of this, although the tire is quieter, when using the fender, the dirt kicked up by the tire tends to make quite a bit of noise as it hits the fender. For this reason, I now tend to remove the fender when riding on trails. This brings me to the Craft and Ride magnetic fender. It is easy to install and gives the GT a clean look. In wet conditions, I'd imagine it would keep your shoes and pants a little drier, and does keep some dirt off my shoes even in dry weather. It is a snap to remove and install and makes a very satisfying loud click when it snaps into place. It is well made and a great solution if you like to ride with a fender on pavement but without one on the trail. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Remember, you're never too old to have fun.